What is going on, guys? It is WrestleMania here, back with some more news. Join us now as WrestleMania looks at the wildest news and rumors you need to know, including an NXT commentator being furloughed, AJ Styles blames himself for the release of Gallows and Anderson, Vince McMahon is irate backstage with leaks, backstage news on Rey Mysterio's retirement, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Hit the intro because it's now time for the news. Now our first story looks at NXT and NXT UK commentator Nigel McGuinness being furloughed by WWE. Well, we thought WWE had gotten through the worst, but there are still more staff being furloughed, the latest being NXT and NXT UK commentator Nigel McGuinness. Dave Meltzer confirmed that he was furloughed last month, hence why we haven't seen him on television. WWE employees have been furloughed until at least July, so Nigel could return sometime in the summer. Here's hoping. Next up, AJ Styles blames himself for the Good Brothers release. AJ Styles' team with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows was a memorable run on Raw, but during an appearance on Corey Graves' After the Bell podcast, Styles said he feels responsible for Anderson and Gallows' release from WWE. I brought their names to WWE, and when they got released, I immediately felt responsible for them because I helped them get here and I wanted them to stay. I thought if I hadn't encouraged them to stay, maybe they wouldn't be behind right now. A lot of it fell on me and I felt I let them down. I talked to them about this and I was just crushed. I'm the oldest and I didn't take care of them. That really bothered me and it still does. Styles' remorse over the Good Brothers' departure seems to have been helped by his move to SmackDown. AJ told Graves, "I'm excited about that. Doing something different is good for me. I needed change. Losing Gallows and Anderson really hurt me. Getting away from Raw helps me get over it. I don't know if I'll get over it, but it helps change the atmosphere around me and to do something different. My whole time on Raw was basically with them. To get away from that and to get to SmackDown where I've had a lot of success, it's a good thing." Now in case you missed it, we released a video explaining why Styles was drafted to SmackDown, and with a phenomenal one likely to finish his wrestling career in the WWE, the Blue brand is a great place to do so, as he has a variety of talented opponents to work with and hopefully put over. Something WWE admittedly didn't do when he was on Raw. Next up, a bit of a wild rumour, is AEW gonna run house shows? It's interesting talk coming after AEW announcer Jim Ross spoke with those crazy kids from the Wrestling Observer. According to JR, AEW had plans in place to begin running house shows before the pandemic changed everything. Ross was asked if he thought AEW needed live events. Absolutely, and I think that's the plan. There were some live events penciled into the schedule until the virus. You can't get better working one night of the week, it doesn't matter who you are. JR noted guys like Chris Jericho don't need the practice, but younger wrestlers do. A lot of guys need to continue to work under the supervision of the coaches in AEW to continue to learn the fundamentals. Do you think AEW should run house shows once things get back to normal? Would you be interested in attending one? Let us know in the comments down below. And next up, did Double or Nothing outsell AEW's other pay-per-views? AEW's Double or Nothing show was well received by many fans, and according to PW Insider's Mike Johnson, it may have been the promotion's most ordered pay-per-view to date. He mentioned, "I can tell you after speaking to certain people who handle pay-per-view distribution, just on their realm, this might have been the best bought AEW pay-per-view of all time." We'll have to wait and see, as the show aired less than a week ago. If it was AEW's most successful show, it's a good sign considering it was an empty arena show. Next up, Vince McMahon is irate over leaks. It looks like Mr. McMahon is on his latest rampage, this time over apparent leaks concerning shows at the Performance Center. Sportskeeter's Tom Colohue appeared on the podcast Dropkick Discussions and reported the WWE really didn't want information getting out there that there would be a crowd. Information of Raw and SmackDown tapings have not been getting out since they have moved to the Performance Center. Nobody has been told this is happening, nobody has been told that's happening, and we haven't had spoilers or anything like that getting through. WWE were very happy about that, but this week a lot of information got out and Vince McMahon was apparently not happy at all. According to recent news reports, Vinnie Mac has been in a foul mood backstage and this is unlikely to help. According to Colohue, the WWE isn't letting these apparent leaks slide by and it could affect whether fans see crowds in the future. There will be inquiries because now they can say for certain someone in the NXT talent is giving information to wrestling media. So the information getting out has a few people under pressure. What does that mean for the crowds? we'll have to see going forward. I think they'll stick with it. NXT talent have been told that they would be needed for the future, but that said, WWE will look to find out who's been leaking information. If they can't find out, they may end up pulling the crowd. As we pointed out before, lots of luck trying to pin down leaks when you have as many people at the Performance Center as you do now, particularly with the addition of NXT and Performance Center talent. Next up, backstage news on Rey Mysterio's retirement. Now, is Rey Mysterio ready to hang up the mask? Well, according to Tom Colohue, don't let the retirement ceremony scheduled for the 1st June Raw swerve you. Speaking on Dropkick Discussions, Colohue commented, "Full-on swerve, just a full-on swerve. Mysterio is not done yet. His contract has always been a brief one, but there are always moments in it that have allowed him to retire ahead of time if he chooses to, because Rey does consider this his last run." Tom also mentioned, "We reported here on this podcast that Rey was considering a retirement match for WrestleMania. Since then, everyone seems to be reporting about Rey's contract coming to an end. He has a right to retire whenever he chooses. It's part of his contract, but it's not coming just yet." Rey has an incredible run over the last year, getting a run with the United States Championship and working a program with WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. It looks like the WWE wants to send Mysterio out in style, but who does Rey want to be his final opponent? Well, according to Colohue, it's an opponent Rey has clashed with many times over the last year. If we do get to the point where his contract is nearly over, which is a while away from now, a few months at least, then I think there are a number of people. Andrade seems like the obvious one, and I think he's a natural successor. He's someone Rey Mysterio wants to have retire him. Now, we could definitely see this happen, and it's been rumored that Rey wants to have his last match as a mask versus hair match. Now, in Lucha Libre, when a person gives up his mask, it basically means the end for that wrestler. Having your mask being taken off and then returning the next week is kind of an insult. But if Rey wants to retire at WrestleMania, it could be a while before the Lucha legend calls it quits. Rey Mysterio can certainly still go about 95% of the time. Plus, there's also a reason for continuing for his son Dominic, as he wants to usher him into the promotion. Next up, more NXT wrestlers being called up. Rumor has it Matt Riddle is being sent from NXT to SmackDown, but apparently he's just the beginning. Recently, Fightful.com reported that, in addition to Matt Riddle, there are an additional NXT call-ups planned for the main roster. No firm plans have been provided, but they're expected over the next month or so. Has Vince McMahon ran out of fresh talent to bury, or is he just looking for new toys to play with? Either way, it sounds like fans will be seeing some talents from the Black and Gold brand showing up on the main roster. Unfortunately, we feel that this is a bad idea, considering that the roster will get more and more diluted as there are more call-ups. WWE doesn't have enough airtime to showcase all its main roster superstars anyway, so how are they going to do it now with more call-ups? And that is unless they probably give some demotions. Next up, Chris Jericho responds to Jim Cornette's criticism of the Stadium Stampede match. Wrestling curmudgeon Jim Cornette wasn't a fan of Double or Nothing's Stadium Stampede match, what a surprise. And while his latest tirade is too long to document, here's the gist of his criticism. "I almost wanted to apologize to Vince Russo for saying that he produced the worst wrestling I've ever seen or heard of after seeing this effing thing. It was the worst aspects of Money in the Bank without the WWE production talent or budget." Cornette blasted Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone, saying they should be ashamed of themselves, while he vowed never to watch AEW again. The Inner Circle's team captain Chris Jericho appeared on Busted Open Radio and commented on Cornette's remarks. "I'll tell you this right now, there's some people that are burying this match. Jim Cornette hated it. If you don't like this match, you don't have a soul, because it was one of the most entertaining things you can see." We have to agree with Jericho, it was certainly entertaining. Wrestling matches don't always have to be about go-arounds, takedowns and submissions. Have some fun with the product too. And finally, a new WWE baby. Last but not least, we'd like to congratulate Bray Wyatt and Jojo Offman on the birth of their baby girl. According to a report at Ringside News, Wyatt announced that Hairi, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Von Rotunda arrived today. She joins her older brother Nash, who was born last year. But there you have it guys, the wildest news stories and rumours you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.